All right, thank you so much. Hey, so I am Michael Gordon, the president and CEO of The Pursuit of Happiness, and we'll be telling you a little bit about our grassroots counseling, in-home counseling, mentoring program, and internship program. I will speak first and give you some information about our program, and Brianna.
Hey, I'm Briana Lee. After Michael Gordon speaking, I will speak also about what I do in the symposiums that I host also.
Thank you. Okay, so the pursuit of happiness, the title of our presentation today is Early Exposure to Trauma and the Impacts on Health, Academics, and the Involvement of the Juvenile Justice System from the Grassroots Lens. So Brianna and I provide in-home counseling and case management to our most underserved members of our community. One of the first things that we do with the pursuit of happiness is we want to know what are the basic and safety needs of our underserved community. And the second thing we do is we complete an ACEs screener, and that with that ACEs screener, we kind of determine what are some of the interventions and preventive services that we need to apply with the family. So our mission is to restore hope by alleviating the drivers of poverty in the Chattanooga area, one life at a time. And I'll tell you, team, like we really, we stayed in our committee meeting for an extremely long time, trying to figure out like what is our strongest mission statement and the boldest statement that we could come up with. And we live by this daily in everything we do with myself, Brianna, and our board. Because in the areas that we serve, at times it is absent of hope. And the first thing we have to do for our families to be aligned and engaged with what we want to do is we want to restore hope. And the next thing we want to do is alleviate the drivers of poverty. And you know, the more I've been doing this for about 25 years now, and the more I am in the home, the more I understand um, some of the drivers of poverty are mental health. Some of the drivers of poverty are nutritional issues. Some of the lack of resources. There's domestic violence in the home. There are mental health issues, A&D addiction issues. So that was our mission statement of drivers, I'm sorry, alleviating the drivers of poverty is really important to us, one life at a time. Our vision is that we intend nothing less than to heal our culture one life at a time. Robert Block, the former president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, he said, adverse childhood experiences are the single greatest unaddressed public health threat facing our nation today. As you see, here is Brianna and I. Brianna is our director of community outreach, and she worked with all of our women and females. So before I get to the program, I want to tell you a quick story of myself and the reason I started the Pursuit of Happiness. I've always worked with for-profit organizations, and I just got really tired of going into homes, developing relationships with families, with children, and then once we would go back and turn in the assessment, the directors would say, yeah, Michael, hey, we're sorry that you developed that relationship. Hey, but we are unable to accept that family. And that it continued to happen over and over. But I want to go back even a little further. I was that child. I was homeless at 15. I slept on the pavement near Brainerd High. The custodian, female custodian that was at Brainerd, she is still there. She would bring me personal hygiene items. She allowed me to experience some self worth, some self pride, uh, uh, by helping me. She restored hope in my life. And so I once stayed at, and I'll be really quick with this with this story. The secretary at Brainerd, Judy Vandergriff, invited me to her home. Now you got to remember, I'm growing up in a home where there's domestic assault, we experienced poverty, anger issues, all of those things occurred in our home. Well, I spent the night with this secretary from Brainerd because her son and I were about the same age, and she invited me over. We hung out. I wake up that morning, and her husband comes down and says, "Good morning, Judy. I love you." First time I ever heard that. I'm 14, 15 years old, and it did something to me. And at that time, I was thinking, I have to bottle up what I felt at that moment. And I want to give what I felt to the other kids that I meet. And that's why I came up with the name, The Pursuit of Happiness, because in all the things that we're going through in life, we are all pursuing some sort of happiness in our life. So I want to talk to you about the programs. We have three pillars. We have a counseling pillar, we have an internship pillar, and a mentoring pillar. And listen, so what compels us to act are, there are so many obstacles faced by those living in poverty. It's wide ranging, unforgiving, affecting students in home, in class, throughout countless and other aspects of their lives. Poverty in school-aged children is correlated with like lower levels of school achievement, adverse behavior outcomes, and higher rates of delinquency. In part, because those experiencing these traumas have fewer opportunities to develop the necessary skills, communication skills, and achieve optimal physical health. These unfavorable circumstances are only compounded by other harsh realities facing many children living in poverty, including nutrition, malnourishment, homelessness, and all of which make it more difficult to concentrate and retain information. What is our approach? Because poverty affects each individual differently, we have chosen to respond to it by addressing each student on a one-on-one basis. As our mission statement said, we want to restore hope by alleviating the drivers of poverty, one life at a time. So we want to instill words like integrity, words like accountability, values of hope, kindness, respect, reliability, and share the importance of discipline. Um, so as you can see, we have been really successful with our mentoring program. We've been really successful with our internship. And you got to remember, Briana and I, we have been in existence for about 11 months now. But our accelerated rate of success, we couldn't have measured it early on. Our referral sources right now are juvenile court, Hamilton County schools, physicians, churches. So through our internship program, we were able to place 6 kids last year on a paid internship. Because what happens is, and it's sad to say, what happens is the kids from the underserved community, they can't take unpaid internships like our counterparts and affluent peers, because our kids have to work in the summer to gain some type of employment. So what we've said is through donations from foundations, through donations from regional bank, Pinnacle Bank, um, McClellan Foundation, we have been able to place these kids in internships. Well, we had a child from Howard, and I'll hurry through these stories, but I'm knocking on this mother's door. I go in there and I tell her, hey, listen, we want to place your son in an internship, a paid internship, to learn engineering. Well, he's working at Bojangles. I tell the mother, this kid is going to make $24 an hour with Philip Pickett at his engineering company. This mother falls on the ground. She prays. She's crying. Um, because so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make our kids more attractive. So when they head off to college, when they decide to do their trade program on their resume, it will say that they were able to intern not at a McDonald's, not at Burger King, not at Bojangles, but at a paid internship in the field uh, of what they want to do as far as a career choice. So Brianna and I, there are certain poverty and zip code areas often dictate health disparities with community resources and clinical services. You know, it's unreal, but it's happening. You know, recently, one of our bigger agencies called and said, hey, will you take this referral? Um, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, you are a huge agency. You have 5, 6 different, 7 different buildings, and it's just Brianna and I with the pursuit of happiness. But there are areas that the other agencies won't go. 37407 zip code. Imagine this, the median household income is 21,000. The home value is 56,000. And then it's in the high crime and gun violence areas of 37404. But at the pursuit of happiness, if the referral comes through, we will work with that family. And because of donations from churches, donations from individuals, donations from foundations, when we apply for grants, we are able to place those families on significant sliding scales where some families may pay $5 for a session. Some families may pay 10. There may be families that pay nothing for those services, but we want to provide some services and case management to all of our families, regardless of where they are living. As you can see here, I'll hurry through these slides here, but Black or African American suspensions are at the highest rate at 5%. Our kids that are expelled from school, Black or African American, are at 18%. And we're thinking that this is a direct correlation between because of the untreated trauma and early childhood experiences that are untreated in our community. So, Chattanooga health risk by race. Can you imagine 65% of our African American families live in areas and locations where it's the highest risk factors because of with health. Let me find the slide. Hamilton County Census says that some of the highest areas for risk are 37410, which we serve, 37404, which we serve. All of these areas are higher risk, but we want to go in and provide psychoeducation for our families. A lot of the mothers, fathers, grandmothers, caregivers don't understand ACEs. They've never been provided psychoeducation around how ACEs affect the bodies and brains of our babies, how ACEs affect the prefrontal cortex that distorts, that causes impulsivity, which is the executive functioning of our brain. Um, our caregivers don't understand how it affects the amygdala, where our kids are always in a fight or flight mode. So when they're at school, and it's difficult to keep them in learning mode because they're always in survival mode. And when kids that we're working with are in survival mode, it's difficult for them to trust. But what we're talking to teachers about is we have to go to the trauma-informed care route where we got to stop asking what is wrong with the kid. We got to start asking what happened to this child along the way that caused them to act this way. Adverse childhood experiences. So when we do those ACEs screeners at the beginning, it is sometimes extremely difficult. When we add up the number of ACEs that a child has, just kind of think maternal depression is common with the kids we're working with, emotional abuse is common, substance abuse, domestic violence, homelessness, incarceration, mental illness, divorce, physical and emotional neglect. You gotta think we are trying to deal with a child who's had increased exposure to so much trauma that it is affecting everything that they're doing. Studies have even said that it's affecting the physiological makeup of our kids. It is causing our kids to become sick. It is causing our kids to have increased asthma. I once talked to a mother and explained to her the psychoeducation around how, and the elevated numbers on the ACEs score can cause a child to lose 20 years off of their life expectancy. I'll hurry through this. It talks about the ACEs, what happens, the response, and the academic and life outcomes. As you can see, because of abuse, household dysfunction, kids are more likely to have felony suspensions and low test scores. This statement here is on our wall in the office, is on our desk, and we live by this. It's easier to build strong children than fix broken men. Frederick Douglass. Yeah, so the first thing that when we're meeting with teachers, when we're meeting with principals, when we're meeting with caregivers, when we're meeting with the juvenile court staff, we're explaining to them, and even us as adults, the first thing we're going to look for in any environment that we are in is safety. We are going to make sure, we're going to look around to make sure we're safe. A lot of our kids become explosive in school because the teachers aren't aware of trauma-informed care. They don't understand that a boy whose mother sits him down and yells down on him will become emotionally dysregulated when that teacher sits him down and yells at him. So we have to become more cultural and historical and understand the gender issues. We need to empower our kids, and we need to have what is called the CPS model, where it's the collaborative problem solving, where our kids are involved in the decision making with consequences, decision making with outcomes and punishment. And lastly, before I turn this over to Briana, we are all in our pursuit of happiness. We will have, take questions afterwards, but I will set this up for Brianna now.
All right, good afternoon. I'm gonna follow up with some things that Michael Gordon just spoke of. This is what we see every day. We are literally in the grassroots. He say we go to places that other people don't want to go. This is our everyday reality. I'm going to focus a little bit on the perception of how the why is more important than the what, and the ways the who can bring it all together. Okay? All right, so when we get referrals, again, we get them from juvenile justice, from schools, from churches, word of mouth, people who hear about us in the newspaper, news articles, different things like that. We are often asked.
I mean, what time was her thing? 1 o'clock. Oh,
Um, and so they see things like outbursts, they see physical altercations, withdrawal, self-harm, and they can look a plethora of ways. Some of our kids are having trouble standing up. Um, they're having trouble interacting with peers. A lot of them are not on grade level. A lot of them don't understand that there are many resources out in the community that can help them. So we are here to provide this safe haven, this gateway between parents, community, children, teachers, everyone, to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right, one thing we need to know as healthcare providers, as therapists, as counselors, everyone in the room, everybody on the screen, every child is different. If you're a parent, you'll know every sibling is different. You may handle this sibling with discipline, but you may talk to this person, this sibling in a different way. Every client we work with is different. So we have to be mindful of the precautions that we take and how we approach them, all right? Because here's the thing, a lot of the students we serve, they are having parenting conflicts, a lack of income, lack of trust, and no healthy outlet. All right, so lack of trust is one of the biggest things that we have to break the barrier for, because they have many people coming in for a short period of time and then they disappear. That's their norm. So when we show up, even on their worst days, they say, "Wait, you really do care. You're really here." And that's how you begin to build that rapport with them, right? We keep our word, we don't break our promises, and we're gonna work with you. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it. If we don't have the resources, we know someone who does. That's the great thing about us being able to network with other healthcare providers to see how you do it. You can show us something and we can show you something, right? Because we want to better the child as a whole. Um, no healthy outlets is another big thing that we see. If you grow up in a household where if your parents disagree, then they're yelling, screaming, and hitting, you think that that's normal. So when you're outside of the home, at school, at camp, wherever you may be, you're gonna say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day. This is not going my way, so I'm gonna scream at someone. I'm gonna punch someone. I'm gonna hit someone." On reality, we're gonna come in and cultivate you. We're gonna see what makes you happy. Do you like to draw? Do you like to write? Do you like music? Do you like to box? All right, so we can help you let these emotions out in a healthy way that's gonna make you a better person and it's gonna not damage people around you. All right, so it's gonna build you. That's what we want to do. All right, the thing about it is stats matter. I know Michael covered a lot about the zip codes that we serve. In each of the zip codes listed, 37407, 37411, and 37406, about 70% of each of those schools are African American students. So that's showing that in our community, we're having a high turnover rate. We're having a lot of kids not making it to the next grade. They're getting expelled, they're getting suspended. And again, there's a lack of resources. So maybe these children need an IEP, maybe they need a 504, but the parents aren't knowing. Specifically in 37406, the average annual income is $13,000. I want everyone to just stop for a minute, close your eyes and just think. $13,000 a year, that's a little over $1,000 a month. And we're not even talking about taking out taxes. All right. These kids are wondering where my next meal gonna come from. I was gonna have lights when I get out of school. My shoes have holes in the bottom. My classmates, they don't understand, they're making fun of me. So I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I have this ball of just negative energy built up inside of me. How do I let it out? All right, that's what we deal with every day. So we get they're angry, but why are they angry? Did they sleep last night? Did they eat dinner? Were they able to properly bathe? So these are the issues that we deal with on an everyday basis. All right. As sad or as disappointing as the stats could be, they are beneficial because if you hear no child left behind, That's literally the motto that we have at the Pursuit of Happiness. It doesn't matter if you make $0. It doesn't matter if you make $100,000 a year. We will not turn you around. We have some families, we do have a sliding scale. So a few families pay $0, where some people might pay $25, but no one is treated different. Each service is the same. We'll see you as many times as needed, and we will meet you where you are. All right, you having a hard day? We are here. We're gonna build you up. We're gonna build your team up, because we know that where you come from, it doesn't dictate where you're going, right? You just have to have the right group of people around you. All right, so the who, this is one of the most important parts to me. The who is you. The who is me, and the who is us. It literally takes a village for the children that we serve to be the best version of themselves. In order for a child to be that person, we have to be the best version of ourselves. We can't look at them as a number. Okay, they're angry and this is how we're going to handle it. No, why are they angry? Let's go in. Let's do the hard work that a lot of people want to avoid. Let's see what's happening with this child, because at the end of the day, they are our future, right? They could be in this presentation one day, really ready to change the world, right? So we have to know what's going on. We want to talk to people, whether it's camp counselors, a guidance counselor. We go into the schools. We want to talk to the parents. And a lot of times with us helping the kids, we help the parents, because they begin to trust us. Then they can say, all right, we are having hard times paying bills. We don't have food. But guess what? We have resources right in our hub. We can go get them groceries. We can sign them up for electric expenses and help right on the spot. But we have to build a rapport for them to trust us, so they can know that we are here to help them. A lot of times they feel judged in their community. It's a lot of shame, all right? But we are here to say, okay, you made the decision, now let's make a better decision, not only for yourself, but for the children, because they matter, right? And what's happening at home is showing out, and a lot of people are not taking the time to get to know them, so they're labeling them. And we want to help them before we get to that point. We are proactive and not reactive. All right. So here at the Pursuit of Happiness, we operate on role, resources, opportunity, and exposure. All right. We want to give them the resources. We want them to see things that they've never seen, meet people that they wouldn't meet, opportunities to go places, try things, be open, and exposure. If we can give people this, it can change a world. All right. So besides the pillars that Ms. Michael Gordon talked about, we also have bi-monthly girl leadership symposiums. This is ran by me. I recently just completed my 4th one, and they are growing. They are very beneficial. I want to tell you a little bit about them, and then we'll be open for questions and answers. All right, so who we are and what we do. I am Briana Lee. I'm the Director of Community Engagement, and I am here to help the girls in every shape, form, and fashion that you can think of. So in my leadership symposiums, I'm bringing in strong leaders, females of the community, whether I've had someone from UTC, I had someone from Street Grace to come in and talk to them about sex trafficking that's happening right here in Hamilton County. I've had real estate agents come in. And one thing that was really beneficial that was they were a little standoffish about before, but yoga, all right? A lot of the students that we deal with, even in the symposium, they come from a traumatic background. They have a lot of chaos at home. So when they do yoga, they're able to meditate, think, breathe, and they're not judged. So many girls are open here because it's a safe space for them. And this last one I did, I was able to bring in someone from the Chattanooga Police Department, Black female. She's been doing this for over 18 years. She was able to come in and build a rapport with them, break that barrier that all police are bad, because they're not. So this is really good for my girls to see someone that looks like them being successful in something that's often shunned with all the violence that's going on. So I'm just opening up to new things. We did slam sessions. We talked to them. We let them express themselves. We allowed them to be creative and tap into other things. All right. So remember, resources, opportunity, and exposure. If we can offer that to our kids and we can collaborate, they can take over the world, literally. All right. So we're going to open up for questions and answers.
Thank you so much for sharing. This is very, very cool work that you all are doing. So really appreciate trying to share because I don't want to big me. Oops. There we go. There we go. Now we're all back in small. Yeah, this is very interesting work that you're doing. I put your Pursuit of Happiness webpage again in our chat box. We are running a little bit behind, so what I'm going to ask, so we don't cut off other presenters as well, is if our audience has any questions, if they would put those in the chat box. And then if you all would watch the chat, and then more toward the end, if we catch up on time a little bit, maybe we can have a question and answer kind of general session if y'all are going to be staying with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Awesome work you all are doing. Very innovative as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.